what's called 10 sephirot. These are the wheels within wheels of Ezekiel, by the way. Called the crown, or the source, an inexhaustible fount of light, wherefore he designates himself Ein Sof, limitless. He has neither shape nor form. There is no vessel that could contain him, no means to comprehend him. It is in this sense that it has been said, search not the things that are too hard for thee, and seek not the thing which is hidden from thee, Ben Sirah. There is a concept called Ein Sof. Now, the issue that I deal with is that you cannot say Ein Sof, meaning nothing and everything, is a him. See, in Hebrew you only have he or she. It's gender. You don't have an it in Hebrew. But if I say Ein Sof it's a little awkward for me, because in Hebrew it's either him or he or she. So we say him, but him isn't really him, it's it. This concept of Ein Sof, limitless, boundless. Let me ask you this. The moment that you place a boundary upon something infinite, is it now infinite? Still infinite? What's the answer? No. Once you place a boundary on something that's infinite, it's now finite. You cannot reduce absolute infinity to finiteness. You're going to have to do something. You can't just have the two together, operating in the same realm. They don't work. Infinity and finiteness do not cross paths. Here is a mathematical formula. Plus 6 and minus 6 equals what for you mathematicians? It's very simple. 0. Plus 1 and minus 1 equals what? But that's infinity. So minus 6 to plus 6 is everything, right? It's infinity. But yet it's nothing, right? It's everything and yet nothing. Everything in between, but yet nothing. This is the concept of Ein Sof, limitless, without boundary, without any kind of dimension, without any kind of understanding. That's what we're dealing with. Next. This is actually alluded to in the Torah, but you'll find this in the Hebrew literature called the Zohar. Exodus 17:7, he named the place Masa Meribah because of the quarrel of the sons of Israel, and because they tested Yud He Vav. They tested Yahweh and said, is Yahweh among us or Ein? Now that's awkward, because they should have just said, is Yahweh among us or nothing, or not? Either he is or he isn't. But they didn't use the word not, they used the word Ein, nothing. And so the scholars of the Zohar, they understood that, and they looked and they said, well, that's obviously why they got in trouble right after that verse. If you look back in the context, they were punished for that. They were trying to make a distinction between the name and this concept of nothing. And he said, no, you don't do that. Don't dichotomize me like that. Next. So, the only suggestion that they were to leave us in the writings of the rabbis, this is, by the way, this is all leading up to the Trinity, because these people feel like they have to have something to look at and understand it. Ein steps down to Elohim, and literally, Bereshit bara Elohim. If you look carefully, you will see over here, Beit Resh Aleph. That's Bereshit, Beit Resh Aleph there. The same 3 letters appear under bara, Beit Resh Aleph. Say 3 letters? 3 letters. Beit Resh Aleph. In beginning created Elohim. In other words, a beginning created Elohim. That's how it's taught in the circles of the mystics. Bereshit created Elohim. It's a step-down point. What is Bereshit? Bereshit is the Word. This here created that. That's the step-down. And we're going to see that. If anybody tries to go over and put a toaster into Hoover Dam, you will not have a toaster anymore. If you try to plug it in, if you could, directly. You have to go through a step-down point. Try talking to your computer hard drive without a keyboard or a monitor. Can you do it? Well, maybe, I don't know. Maybe Scotty in Star Trek can, but I can't. So what happens is the infinite and the finite are now going to come together, but in different dimensions. The way this is going to be is a Hebrew term called tzimtzum. An infinite ein, an infinite nothing and everything that we cannot possibly comprehend, understand, or put a boundary on. Makes a relationship with the finite by extracting a part of itself, as I put it, into itself. This extraction, at least at a theoretical level, has a Hebrew term called tzimtzum. It's like sucking a part of yourself into yourself. You see, in theory, if the all-eternal whatever ein is, which I don't know what it is, and the moment I try to describe ein, I've now made it finite. And I can't do that. Whatever ein is, all we know is that when it fills all in all, because it does fill all in all, the entire universe, whatever the universe happens to be, all in all, it fills everything. And as long as it takes up the space, at least theoretically, you can't put anything there because it fills it. So the way it does, the way it works, is it sucks a part of himself into himself, thus making a cavity or a hole for which to place something. Much like the way you women are built, with a little cavity so you can have creation in you. Works very similar, I think. Tzimtzum. So we have what is called the infinite universe, the seventh heaven. Ever heard the term, I'm in seventh heaven? For those of you that have ever been in other religions, ever heard the term nirvana? This is where they get this stuff. Back up, please. This is where they get this stuff. They get this nirvana and all that. It comes, all of this stuff comes out of Hebrew thought. And then they corrupt it. I say, get it out of their hands. They don't own it. It belongs back to us. And it's the house of Yosef. It's your job, Ephraim. You better go get it. Because they've been corrupting it for a couple thousand years at least, and it's time that they give it back. Don't let these religions have it. It doesn't belong to them. The infinite universe, the seventh heaven. That's what this is. Next. Tzimtzum, at least in theory, builds this whole, and this whole is going to represent what's called Hoshech, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. This is the darkness in Genesis 1:3, of which another universe is going to come into that dark realm. This is the darkness, by the way, I believe, that is going on in Egypt when the darkness is placed in the faces of the Egyptians. This is what they see. See, it's not just that it's a dark night, like Cecil B. DeMille might present in the movie The Ten Commandments. Oh no. The darkness was pitch black darkness as though they were blind. It came from this. It was sent from this realm, most likely. That is the black hole. Some scholar, somebody came up to me and said, in a black hole there's no radiation. I don't know. All I know is it's a black hole. There's nothing going on there. Or maybe there is something going on. But it's spiritual. Hoshech. Next. The fifth universe, the light from the seventh universe, travels through the darkness and explodes into the fifth universe. This is all taught by the ancient scholars of Rabbinic Judaism, the mystics. Next slide. And it, boom, it explodes into a gigantic hole and it fills the darkness, still leaving the darkness though, but it fills it. This is called light out of darkness. I had a professor back in 1974 at the college I went to on the West Coast who, in studying the Hebrew on this passage where the light comes out of darkness, he was astounded. He couldn't figure out what it was saying in Hebrew, and I go back and look at it in retrospect, and he's right. The Hebrew on that is astounding. It basically says that the light comes through the darkness. Now this is a pattern you're going to see over and over and over again throughout the entire Tanakh. Look at Yeshua standing there in the Mount of Olives, not Mount of Olives, I'm sorry, the Transfiguration. Remember, it's going on at night, and he's like a glowing light bulb in the middle of darkness. There's darkness, and then the light goes through it. Ever heard the term, there's light at the end of the tunnel? You go through darkness into light. Look at the pupil of your eye. Light from a room passes through what? darkness to get into the back of your retina where it produces images of light. But it has to go through darkness. The whole pattern is set up in the Torah. Elohim is that light that you're going to see there. It's Messiah, organized and manifested out of Ein, out of nothing. Nothing exists, and then out of nothing comes an interface for which light is going to shine into the darkness. And John chapter 1 will tell you this story right here, at the very mystical, sodish levels. It's organized and manifested. That's why there's 5 books of Torah. That's why the word Elohim in Hebrew has 5 letters. There's 5 fingers on your left hand and 5 on your right, if you're somewhat normal. 5 over here on your feet, 5 on this. We're made in 5s. There's reason for that. Yes, and dare I say, don't be afraid of the pentagram. It's another one of those. It's a 5. There's nothing wrong with the pentagram. Again, we had some people come in and steal the concept from us. And they took it into their own religions and made talismans, and they made all kinds of crazy things out of it. Take it back. It's ours. The pentagram is ours. It does not belong to the Masons. It does not belong to any of these odd religions out there utilizing the symbols of our faith. Let's go on. This then transforms into a 4th universe. 4th universe, Atzilut, the universe of names and emanation. This is where there's a lot of activity going on. I don't know what it looks like. I've never been there. But there are some people who have. Paul, for one. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, 2 Corinthians 12, where he went up into the 3rd heaven. He's got near this thing. Isaiah, YHUH, in chapter 6, he says, I saw Yahweh standing. I saw him with the train of his robe filling the temple. He probably saw that dimension. Who knows? Ezekiel, wheels within wheels. Yeah, he saw it too. Moshe, yeah, they saw it. There have been those throughout the entire Tanakh that have seen this dimension. And it's the dimension of names and emanation. It has a bunch of names floating around it. 72-letter names. A 216-letter name of the All-Eternal One. You think 4 is interesting? I'm telling you, these are all names. The 42-letter name. The names are in here. They're all floating around and they're real. Let's go on. Bria, the world, the universe of creation, is then brought forth into the 4th dimension. Now going into the 3rd universe. There's something going on. That's the throne is in there, by the way. According to some of the teachers of Judaism. The throne is in there with all the angels are around the throne singing praises of Yahweh. Keep going. Yitzirah, the universe of formation, is within that one. It's just going down deeper. Yitzirah. That is a beautiful, beautiful dimension. And you know where that starts? At least theoretically. Starts where the farthest point of our universe's stars exist. Go where Andromeda is. Go where all of our star systems are. It's even beyond that. Yitzirah is there. That's why I believe, in my opinion, which I believe I'm allowed to have, that's where I think the UFOs are coming from. They're coming out of Yitzirah, going through a curtain and arriving here. So are the demonic forces and powers. They come through that curtain. Okay, next. Finally, we get down to the blue section, which is Earth. This is Malchut Shemayim on Earth. This is the first dimension as we are standing on it. It's called the universe of making and action. This is where all the activity of manifesting the will of the name is right here on this universe here. This is where good and evil come together. This is where Trinitarian stuff comes together. This is where everything comes together, right here. This is why we're fighting things. And this is the basis for Paul's words in Romans 7. What I want to do, I don't do. What my mind is doing, my body doesn't do. The members and all that's all Romans 7, right here. This stuff here. Okay, continue on. And then in Isaiah 45, we learn this. Everyone who is called by my name, that's going to be Atzilut. Not the Hebrew word, but it's just the allusions to it. Whom I have created, that's Bria. whom I have formed, that's Yetzirah, even those whom I have, sorry, that's made in blue, Asiyah. There's your four worlds, all within what? Here's your four worlds. One, blue, yellow, this color, this violet stuff, and blue. All in what? In Messiah. Everything is in him. That's why Colossians chapter 1 says what it says. All things hold together by him. All things were made for him and through him. And in him all things hold together because he is here. And everything is in him, the light. The light shines in the darkness, which is going to be here. And everything is coming down. This is how they understand things. Now, are these mystical Jews, are they nobody's looking at the Brit Hadashah, they're looking at the Tanakh. We got to look at the Brit Hadashah because this stuff is in there. These Talmidim understood these concepts. They had to have. They weren't dumb. They had Yeshua figuring it out. They were telling them all kinds of things. And they understood the ideas of their own Bible in the first century. And Yeshua was bringing it to life and talking about, I am the light of the world. What do you think? This is the Torah. Keep going. So, in summary, we have these basic ideas. We have world 1, 2, and 3 as we go from top to bottom or from bottom to top. We'll go through these slides. I don't want to get hung up here. Atzilut, B'riyah, Yetzirah, Asiyah, it goes up and down, okay? Now you have a concept in Exodus 24:10. It's called the bone of heaven. It's a very strange language that we have. It says, they saw the Elohim of Israel under his feet. There appeared to be a pavement of sapphire as clear as the sky itself. Nice translation, but it doesn't work. I put it back into Hebrew the best that I could. It's taking way too many words to describe it. This is sort of how I see it in, we'll call it Avi's authorized version. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And they saw the Elohim of Israel, and supporting his feet with great stability and strength, there appeared to be a brilliant white sephirah attribute standing above it, a pillar of strength as a bone, or a very strong body with its essence like limbs, as ritually pure as heaven. It's about the best that I could translate it, because that's about what's going on. You have a gigantic bone or spine standing in the middle of heaven with feet touching a white sphere. And Moses and the elders saw this. Keep going on. I believe what they saw was something like this in this is two-dimensional. They saw this in probably 26 dimensions. They had a very, very interesting experience, all of them. And it's this image. If any of you have been into any New Age philosophy or New Age religions, you would be familiar with this image because the Hindus use it. The Mormons use it. The Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't think they use it. But they might, maybe they do. The Mormons use it. The Masons use it. The Scottish Rite Masonics use it. The Shriners, I think, use it. Yoga uses it. They all use this form. But they're minus the Torah. They don't have the truth. Day 1, day 2, day 3. See these spheres? This is Chesed. This is a head. This is the body down here. This is day 1, day 2, day 3 according to creation. 4, 5, 6, day 7. See that down there? That's Malkut. That's the world of Asiyah. That's where you enter into Elohim. You better come to the Sabbath right there. That's the gate. That's the narrow way, Yeshua says. That's the narrow way. That's the gate. Right there. You can't get in unless you go through Sabbath. People climb over, thinking they can get over the wall. They can't. They're thieves, robbers. You got to come through Sabbath. Back up. This briefly is called Tiferet Ben Yah. That's the son of Yah. That's what they refer to it as in Aramaic. They don't translate it into English. Gee, I wonder why. Okay, let's go on. Ein Sofin, white light in, 10 colors out. That's what that spherical thing you saw, that's what it represents. White light in, 10 colors out. Not 10 different things entirely. They're all related to the white light refracting through a prism. Let's go on. Now let's talk about the name. We're getting up into the Trinity area here. This is going to lead us into some very interesting concepts. The name. In Hebrew, the Tanakh, Yahweh appears 6,039 times. In the Aramaic Targumim, Aramaic is the language of the first century, not Greek, sorry. Didn't mean to burst anybody's bubble, but it was Aramaic, okay? They were doing Hebrew in the synagogue and Aramaic among the Jews of the day. The Aramaic Targumim, no, back up. Aramaic Targumim, each occurrence of Yud-He, Vav-He, is always translated in Aramaic as Mar-Yah, Mem, Resh, Yud, Aleph. That's how they translate the name, Mar-Yah. Remember that. Go on. In the Greek, Bri Hadashah, each reference to Yud-He, Vav-He is translated with the word kurios, Strong's Lexicon number 2962. In English, kurios is translated as Lord, Lord, Master, or Sir. That's how they put it. But it's the name. Now, in the Aramaic Bri Hadashah, referred to as the Peshitta, each reference to Yud-He Vav-He is translated as Mar-Yah. It's an important point, don't forget it. The name Mar-Yah is used only for the name of the Kadosh One of Israel. There are no exceptions that I have found. Mar-Yah. It means Yahweh. Keep going. So from Hebrew to Greek, we get Yahweh to Kurios to English Lord, Lord, Master, Sir. That's how they do it. And Hebrew to Aramaic, it's Mar-Yah. Hebrew, Yahweh, Mar-Yah, and there you see it in English. That's the way it appears, Mar-Yah. Keep going. In the Peshitta, not the Greek, but the Aramaic for Matthew 1:22. I gave you the passage and I highlighted for you Mar-Yah. All this took place, that which was spoken of by Yahweh. See how they put Mar-Yah there? Might be through the prophet, might be fulfilled, because in the Aramaic that would be the four-lettered name Yud-He Vav-He, but they put it Mar-Yah. And that's the way it is in the Aramaic Peshitta. Next. Dimar-Yah is here. That is saying, make ready the way of Yahweh, Dimar-Yah, make his paths straight in Matthew 3:3. Here, Mar-Yah, Elohim. This is going to be the foremost, this is the commandment. Hear, O Israel, Yud-He Vav-He, that's Yahweh, Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. And they translated Mar-Yah, Elohan, Mar-Yah, right there. Mar-Yah, there it is, the Shema in Aramaic. By the way, this is Hebrew letters for Aramaic. Aramaic has its own script. So the actual translation just put it back into the Hebrew because I can't read the Aramaic script. Let us go straight to Bethlehem, then see this thing that has happened, of which Yahweh, Dimar-Yah, has made known to us. There it is. Dimar-Yah, of which Yud-He Vav-He. And they put Mar-Yah there. Mar-Yah, of Mar-Yah. Of which Mar-Yah. So now, how is it used in connection with Yeshua ben Yosef, the gentle rabbi of Nazareth? How do they use the name Mar-Yah in the Aramaic Peshitta? Luke 2:11. For today in the city of David there has been born to you for a Savior, who is Mar-Yah Mishicha. That's what they call him in Aramaic. Anybody ever seen that? It's different than Greek. It's different than English. They're calling him by the very same name that is identified in the Tanakh 6,300 times or more. They're identifying him with the name, Mar-Yah Mishicha. Matthew 22:41. Now while the Pharisees were gathered together, Yeshua asked them a question. What do you think about Mishicha? Whose son is he? They said, well, the son of David. And he said to them, well, then how does David in the Ruach call him Mar-Yah? Where did Yeshua get that? What do you mean? How does David call him Mar-Yah? Where did he come up with that stuff? Let me show you, because you're going to go to Psalm 110. Mar-Yah said to my master, Mar-Yah said to my master, to Adon. Now watch. Sit at my right hand until I put thine enemies beneath thy feet. If David calls him Mar-Yah, how is he his son? I'm going to show you what this means. Watch. You have to strain a little bit. I didn't get that too large enough for you here. If you go to Psalm 110, it's going to read, Ne'um Yahweh le'adoni. said Yud-He-Vav-He to my Adon. That's my Adon, Adoni. There's lots of explanations in Rabbinic Judaism for that. They think it's something else, but I'm going to show you that they're not being honest. Yes, that's right. Our Jewish brethren are corrupting some truth. They don't want you to know something. They don't want to know something. Okay? And he says to Adon, my Adon, says, sit at my right. Let's go on. Who is at the right of Yud-He-Vav-He? Look at it there. Who's at the right? What's it say? Adoni is at the right. See? My Adon is at the right. That's what it says in the Hebrew. Adoni is at the right. Let's go on. So now who's the one called my Adon? Who is this? Who is this one? Go on. The answer is in verse 5. I jumped from 1 to verse 5. Adonai, see? Adonai is the word. See? Adonai is at the right. Adonai is at the right. He's upon the right. You're right. That's what it says. So Adonai is the master, the one at the right. But this begs the question. Who exactly is Adonai? I mean, we just asked. Adonai's at the right. It says it right there. So who is this Adonai? We got to know. The Masoretic text. You all familiar with it? 7th and 9th century. Your Tanakh is based on Masoretic text. Oral tradition. It noted in a marginal notation that for certain purposes, we're not going to go into here, they replaced Yud-He-Vav-He with Adonai. Ancient Holy Writ identifies Adonai as the Tetragrammaton. I'm going to show you this. They identified Adonai. They identified something. They put Adonai there. Show you. That's what was originally there before the Masoretes got a hold of it. That's what's there. They covered it over and put Adonai there. It used to be that, the four-lettered name. Therefore, next slide. The original reading of Psalm 110, verse 1 and verse 5 identifies the four-lettered name as the one who sits at the right. I just showed you. The Masoretes changed it. So, it literally is to be interpreted as saying, Yud-He-Vav-He said to Yud-He-Vav-He, because Adoni is really Yud-He-Vav-He. That was not changed. That was changed. Adoni, my Adon, is the four letters here. So, we now have what's called the greater and the lesser name, which identifies with Yeshua's words when he says the greater and the lesser in John 14. Okay? Thus, Maria, Yud-He-Vav-He said to my master, sit at my right. If David calls him Yud-He-Vav-He, if David calls him Yahweh, how is he his son? That was the question he asked. And they were stumped, and they couldn't figure out how to give him an answer to it. That's why they were shocked. Go ahead. All right. You heard it said, I go away, I'll come. If you love me, you would rejoice because I go to the Father, for the Father is greater than I. Okay? I kept looking until thrones were set up in Daniel 7:9. There's those thrones again. Next. And again, there's one like a son of man and the Ancient of Days. There's thrones. But what are these thrones all about? Okay? Paul gives us a clue into the mystery of this whole thing. He says, no one can say, in 1 Corinthians 12:3, no one can say, this is only in Aramaic, not in Greek, Yeshua is of Maria, is of Yahweh, except by the Ruach of the Kadosh one. That's the only way you can identify it. If you don't have the Ruach, you're probably not going to be able to say it. It's a very special gift given to men to be able to say, Yeshua is of Maria. Keep going. And then another passage in 1 Peter 3:15, sanctify yourselves toward Maria, toward the name. Maria Mishicha. Why? To give an account for the hope that is in you. Let's look at the word, the hope. Jeremiah 17:13, it says, Yahweh, the hope of Israel. So we know that the hope is connected to the name. Keep going. And the name which you have given me, I in them and thou in me. Okay, keep going. And Yeshua says something greater than the temple is here. The temple without the indwelling of the name is only a building. The Torah without the white fire of the name is only a scroll of words and letters. That's it. You've got to fill it with something. Okay, keep going. All right, now pay attention to this graphic illustration. I want to show you. Because at this point, it would appear that there is two names, Yahweh Father, Yahweh Son, which means that you could arrive at a Trinity very easily out of this if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm telling you, there is no Trinity, not like what you think you've grown up with or heard. Consider this a wall, an opaque wall. What happened to the other one? Can you... It's not there? Okay, put it in there. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. You are standing here on this side of the barrier. Okay? If you were standing on that side of the barrier, how many fingers is that little image holding up if you're standing on this side? You don't know, do you? You can't see it, can you? You can see it from this perspective, but what if you're standing over there? Can you see it? No. Go on. Keep going. Now put a mirror in there. Keep going on. There's a sequence of animation here. The mirror is now going to reflect what's on the other side of the wall. Going. The mirror is going to reflect the image of the original, and the reflected image of the original will show up where you're standing on that side, and now you can see what's going on that side of the wall. Only by looking into the mirror. Keep going. These 10 sphirot are operating. That wall is the barrier between infinite and finite. You can't get past it. The only way that you can see the infinite is by looking into a mirror, and it's through the mirror that we're going to see the reflection of the infinite in a matter of finiteness. Keep going. Yeshua is the multi-dimensional image, mirror image of Yahweh. That's what's going on. Yahweh, the original image, is called Adam Kadmon. We're not going there tonight to explain that, but it's the original Adam. It's called Adam of ancient days. And in Colossians it says he is the image of the invisible Eloah, the firstborn of all creation. What you're going to see in this two-dimensional image, you've got a wall separating yourself to the infinite, and the infinite is going to reflect through the Messiah, Yeshua, so it's going to appear as though it's two names, when really it's a multi-dimensional image of at least 26 dimensions of going on in Yeshua. And you're not looking at a spirit, you're not looking at a ghost, you're going to look at a true flesh and blood man, a physical human being who was also in his ruach, deep, deep down in that extra, I don't know what you're going to call it, because I haven't seen him in that way. We will. He is reflecting this image of the infinite in himself. But this is not modalism. This is not where everything just all of a sudden drops in heaven and comes down and appears on earth. This is multidimensional imagery. It's using mirrors. Okay, let's go on. We've got about 15 more minutes and I can wrap this up. So now how do we get to the concept of the Trinity? You see how difficult this is? You see how much groundwork you got to lay to get down into this stuff? It's so deep. It's so incredibly deep. You just can't just lay it on somebody and say, oh, well, your Trinity is all messed up and bogus. You're going to have to explain this stuff to them. But you're going to have to learn over time how it works, and you'll make it your own, and you'll understand it, and maybe you can put it down in 20 minutes to somebody. I don't know. It takes me about an hour and a half to figure it out. How did we get three persons in one? How did it develop? Tritheism. This was a concept affirmed by the Council of Nicaea 325. It says that, quote, Jesus, as they would like to use the term, was God. That was how they developed their term. Co-equal, co-eternal, homoousios, meaning of one nature with the Father, a fusion of a divine and a human nature within the person of Christ, as they would say. The Godhead, as they say, is understood to be three separate beings. They call them persons, forming three separate gods, if you will. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. They're actually one in three and three in one, but always one in one, always one in a purpose. This is very confusing. I sat down with a theologian once and I asked him about this stuff. And he went round and round and round and round, and I couldn't nail him down on an answer. He just didn't know. Finally he says, "Oh, we just take it by faith." I go, "Oh, please. Do you have anything else you can give me? Maybe I'm a scholarly mind. I'm trying to put the stuff together. You don't make any sense to me." Okay. Write this down and remember it. This is very crucial. If you're asleep, now's the time to wake up. Pneuma. Pneuma, spelled Kuf Nun Vav Mem Aleph. It's an Aramaic word. It only appears in the Aramaic of the Zohar. Pneuma is an Aramaic word that has no translatable equivalent in English. The closest we can get is quality, character, attribute, substance, essence. Pneuma. Pneuma is the essence of what makes something spiritual or of the Spirit. It is the mind and will of the Almighty. It is the underlying substance or glue. I want to put an operative word on glue that later defines the realms of the soul and the spirit. Pneuma is what's called the deeper soul. Somebody told me it was like the graviton of an atom. I don't actually know what that is. Somebody maybe who does understands in this audience, graviton. But it's the glue that holds the spirit together. In other words, if you have a spirit, you have a ruach in you, then there's something that's holding that ruach together without it exploding in the spiritual realm. That's the pneuma. It's way beyond the spirit. Next. All of our physical creation has a spiritual counterpart to it. Everything, this is important, everything that is physical was first created as a spiritual essence. All that is spiritual has a deeper counterpart to it. Everything that is spiritual was first brought forth from an own underlying essence. It starts with pneuma, goes to spiritual, and then from there goes to physical. That's basically the format. Let's go to some Aramaic text to see the word pneuma. John 5:26. As for the Father, there is life in his pneuma. That's what it says in the Aramaic Peshitta. There is life in his pneuma, meaning the spiritual essence or substance underlying that which is truly spiritual. That is, likewise, he gives also to the Son that there may be life in his pneuma. In this Aramaic text, there is a distinction being made between the Father and the Son sharing the same pneuma. So who is his Father, who is the Son? We'll find out. Next. The Aramaic text of Ephesians 2:15 reads, by abolishing in his flesh the enmity, the law of commandments and ordinances, that in his pneuma, is what it says in Aramaic, he might make the two into one new man. In English, they put it as in himself. Colossians 2:15, again, the similar situation, having triumphed over them through him in English, but in the Aramaic, through his or in his pneuma. In his glue that holds the spiritual glue together. The glue that holds the spirit together in the souls of Yeshua. Way, way up there, beyond what you can even see. Aramaic text of Luke 11:17. Any kingdom divided against itself, literally against a soul, is laid waste, and a house against itself, or a house upon against the pneuma falls. It's got two different phrases here. This is all technical. I'm not going to bore you with too much of this. We'll just kind of go on. I'm showing you that in the Aramaic Peshitta of the New Testament, this word pneuma, the glue that holds the spirit together, is definitely there. It shows up in numerous places. Keep going. Now let's go into what's called parsopa. Okay, we got the pneuma. Say pneuma. Now let's go to parsopa. It sounds like soap or something. Parsopa. Peresh Ein Samek Vav Pe Aleph. It's an Aramaic word, and it means an entire expression of a person, what we know a person to be, the full expression of a person's mind and heart, Also translated a face, a physical image to reflect an abstract state. When you look at a person, you're not looking at their physical being, not really. I mean, you are, but you're not. What you're looking at is their entire essence coming out to the surface so you can see them in the eyes and you can look and say, that's somebody I know, that's a person. That's their soul being worn on the sleeves. That's a face, it's an expression. I'll show you. Parsopa, it's a very interesting term in Aramaic. Keep going. Pneuma, the underlying substance or glue that later defines the realm of soul and spirit. Pneuma is what is called the deeper soul. Parsopa, full expression of what a person is, their face, soulish identity. That's Aramaic.